You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right. Well, listen, we got a very special guest. He's a guy that we've been talking and following each other on X for a long time. If you will, Jason, go ahead, bring on Chris, aka Conservative Dad on Twitter. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Gary, Jason, Chris, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, who'd you vote for?
It was a tough decision. It was either vote for the person with pronouns or no pronouns, and I was torn.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. Well, if you will, Chris, just take a minute, Jason Big Screen Ham, and just introduce yourself to everybody out there. Let them know who you are, what you're about, a little background on you, kind of what you do on the Twitter space, aka X, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, my name is Chris Baird. I am 52 years old. I'm married with one daughter, married for 13 years now to a legal immigrant who came from Mexico. I have my daughter's half Hispanic. I have 7 rescue dogs in my house, believe it or not. Right now, I'm a citizen journalist. Before, at the age of 30, I joined the Army. Ended up doing 4 deployments, 11 Bravo. First tour with 10th Mountain Division, 2nd Brigade, 214 Infantry. We were attached to 10th Group in northern Iraq. Second tour, Baghdad. Third tour, Afghanistan. And 4th tour, back to Baghdad. And then we went south into right next to Iran at that port that they have down there.
Like Ballad
I
Ruse?
retired after almost 14 years, medically retired. Now, after, you know how it is, your back and neck and everything gets jacked up. But right now, I'm just trying to get to the truth of what's going on out there and let people know what's happening.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on, Chris. I'm curious to, we talked about some of the subjects and the topics that we were going to talk about tonight. And I'm curious and excited to get into those. So, Jason, if you will, throw us back together on the page there. Jason, do me a favor, X out those other pages up top, just to make sure we're not eating up any bandwidth over there. We're down here in West Virginia, folks, so we're trying to, we're in West Virginia, the tech capital of the United States.
Doing it. You're asking a lot of me, by the way, right now.
I realize that. You're like, all I did was come here to drink.
Yeah. It's a wild turkey rare breed kind of night.
That's a solid bottle. But yeah, Chris, so there is a lot going on politically. There's a lot going on geopolitically. We have a lot of things going on when it comes to Ukraine. I think we have the current administration just thrashing about in its last couple of weeks in office, and we got a lot going on. So, you're really good at kind of highlighting some of the things that are going on out there. That's one of the things I really enjoy about following your feed on X. So I guess just kind of jump into it and let's talk about what you'd like to talk about.
Okay, so to give a little background for you guys, about 2 weeks ago, we published a 15-minute warning when Odessa was going to get hit to prove to everyone out there that we have some information. And then on day 1000 of the Ukraine-Russia war, we posted a 16-hour warning. And the reason we knew is because Americans programmed the missiles, the ACTMs. In the last couple of days, 5 HIMARS have been destroyed near Kursk that were the ones used to go after the weapons depots, weapons manufacturing, the oil production, oil refinery. Those are the main targets of the ACTMs. The missile systems being shot deeper into Russia right now, which we're lucky. We're not in World War III for only one reason right now. Putin doesn't want it. So we have, we put that stuff out because we messaged Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth that we won't disclose anymore from my source in the NSA because we won't have to. The whole reason that I I outed myself on Twitter X a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, was because of the abuses by the NSA. They are going after conservatives in a way that Echelon was not set up for. Echelon was supposed to be used to go after terrorists, to go and find out when the next war was going to happen. But instead, they used the NSA to go after conservatives. There's 60 on the list right now that they're attacking. Mostly it's Trump people, but then there's also conservative media personalities out there that they're going after. The weaponization of the NSA, Echelon, the CIA, FBI is unconstitutional, and we have to stop this, Gary. You know this. If we don't stop this now, this country is gone.
Absolutely, it is. I mean, between the weaponization of the DOJ, the way that they're going after conservatives themselves, the way they're debanking so many of us, that's something that I've experienced, and so many other people that are on the conservative side have experienced, both from businesses and everything else. So, you know, they're going after us left and right, and it really is to suppress free speech. If you guys haven't listened to Joe Rogan's latest podcast, I highly recommend it, with Mike Benz. He talks about this specifically, what they're doing at a operational level through the U.S. government, both through the Department of State, the CIA, and many of these other three-letter agencies out there. So I definitely recommend you watching that, but that is something that everybody should be aware of. And it's crazy that we've kind of accepted that as a norm. You know, and that's what's happened. We've accepted those things as norm, and it's just, hey, you know what? Like, our outrage button is broken. And the only thing that we can hope, I guess, is that, you know, with this new administration, you know, they get some people in there and they start changing some things. And I know, look, I wasn't waiting on the government to do anything when Joe Biden was in office, and I sure am not going to do the same thing when Trump gets in office. Like, government is broken by design. It's in its nature to be broken. So I'm not waiting for them to fix things, but we as Americans need to be aware of what's going on. And this country is being stripped away from us, and all the rights that we have are being stripped away from us, whether we realize it or not. And we need to wake up. And, you know, I don't know. We just need to be aware of it. We need to make sure that we're trying to do something, whether it's talking to senators, whether it's getting politically active, whatever it takes at the end of the day. But we got to preserve these freedoms. There's no doubt about it.
Wait, so you don't think a blanket pardon for over 10 years is ethical?
I think it's great, to be honest with you.
I mean,
yeah, you know, I mean, that's a whole nother subject. You know, not only did Biden say he wasn't going to pardon Hunter, you know, he went with a blanket pardon that covers him for any and everything.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that. All I know is that was.
I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't know that you could do that either.
Bold move, Cotton.
I didn't know you could do that either.
I mean, he's a president.
And you know, what I saw that I didn't know, I don't know if it's possible. I don't, you know, the thing is, some of these things probably have never been challenged in the Supreme Court because they haven't been abused in the way that they have been. But, you know, they're even talking about pardoning all these other people for possible future crimes. They're wanting Biden to pardon, you know, his entire cabinet against future crimes. And the fact is
the guy that killed Ashley Babbitt is trying to get a pardon right now.
Yeah. Well,
I wonder if Diddy will jump on that train.
I mean, anything's possible
I'm just
at this
saying,
point.
I mean,
Y'all got any of them pardons left?
I miss my baby oil.
Yeah.
He said that Hunter has been sober for 5.5 years, but we have video of Hunter up on the White House balcony, turning around and then going back with his dad standing right there. So this whole 5.5 years sobriety stuff is BS.
He had a running nose.
Well, he left some coke in the White House that was found too. I mean,
that wasn't Pelosi's.
Let's be real. That is probably most likely.
That's what he told
Hunter
his dad.
Biden's.
He told his dad he was sober, so it's got to be true.
Well, that's true.
So
what was I
you have
thinking?
to listen to your son.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's
it wasn't Kamala's because she smokes pot, so we know that.
Yeah, you know. Well, she. Have you guys seen all those videos going around about her?
Bruh.
Completely AI'd her.
Bruh. Yeah, they're great.
I don't even know what you want to call that. Her farewell speech.
Yeah.
Her defeat speech. It was. You know, the thing is like you didn't have to touch it, and it was it was grossly
perfect.
comical
Yeah.
and sad at the same time. You almost felt a little bad for her.
That was the running mate of Daddy.
She was wasted.
Yeah,
She-
she sure
She
looked that
she
way.
was upset.
Yep.
What is that?
She was drowning her
Ugh.
sorrows.
Well, I can't hate on her. I'm wasted every time I'm on here. So
Well,
Slightly smaller platform. but
you're on here like once a year. So
As long as you're honest.
I mean, he is honest. Grossly honest.
there we go.
So what else is going on in the world, Chris?
All right, so let me give a little background for Echelon and the NSA here. So
Please.
for your audience that doesn't know what's been going on. So since the 1960s, basically, we've been capturing signals throughout the world. Right now, we're at about 99.6% that we're capturing of all the signals. You're talking about phone calls, text messages, emails. Echelon was set up to look for terrorists and really bad criminals, as in like the child rapists, the child traffickers. So there's Five Eyes, they call it, but really there's a lot more countries than just the five original, because Romania is huge in Echelon now. Echelon uses keywords to look for potential terrorists. Like they look for the word bomb. They look for the word I will kill the president. I mean, stuff like that is what is programmed into the system previously. In the last 4 years, and this started actually before Trump got out of office, and allegedly Miller is the one that authorized Trump to get put on this list. I say allegedly to protect your show here.
Sure.
Miller was not a 100% fan of Trump, unfortunately. So he helped to change the keywords. So Trump supporters would write President Trump. People who didn't like Trump would just write Trump or little t, capital R, and then the rest Trump. Yeah. Those would get excluded because those were people who were obviously anti-Trumpers. But anything that showed respect for Trump within the email, text, phone call, those were the ones flagged. Now, that's separate from the 60 conservatives that they're going after right now. There's the vast majority of them, like I said, are Trump insiders. Willis just got put on and someone was taken off. I'm not going to disclose everybody on who's on the list. I've been asked not to. There's only one person who's publicly acknowledged that he's on the list, and that's Cat Turd. And he knows because I told him. And people were blasting him saying, oh, you're full of it. They're not listening to your phone calls. Yes, they are.
If there's anyone in our audience right now that you don't think that the U.S. government can listen to your phone calls, capture your text messages at will, and also you don't think that the leftist bureaucrats that are really in charge of most of these agencies wouldn't target you for your political views. You are living in
like this. They are one, and people have no clue how much technology Google has given to the NSA, and the NSA uses this technology to blackmail people, to sell information, competitive bids from one company, and then they'll sell the other company's competitive bid to the other person, and they're both competing against each other, and they're both paying the NSA in cash, diamonds, gold, stuff. It really is more diamonds than anything.
Well, let's
that's interesting.
For just a second, Chris, let's back up just a little bit. So, you were obviously in the military. How did, and then, I'm assuming, and you can correct me where I'm wrong here, but, I'm assuming you got a little bit more politically active or were more concerned about the country and things like that. How did you get into the citizen journalist sphere? Like, how did you end up developing some of the contacts that you have? Like, how did you get into what you're into today?
Well, I don't know about you, Gary, but it takes me a long time to trust somebody. It takes me years to really, really trust someone.
Sure.
There are some people that if they called me up, like Sergeant Kumra, if he called me up and said, hey, I got a problem, my family needs help, I need your help, I'd get on a plane, I'd be in Dallas in a couple hours.
Sure.
There's, I'm trying not to say anything that would out anybody. So when I say they, it's just, I've known the one in the NSA now for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I trust this person with my life. I would do anything. This person actually came to me and said, hey, we've got this information. And look, I'm nobody. I was not a super soldier. We were attached to Special Forces. I am not Special Forces. I was attached to the Secret Service. Not make sure that your audience understands, not presenting Special Forces or Secret Service, because it's the kind of stuff that gets you woken up
Right.
one week. So my source, I've met with my source now twice in Arizona. My family had no clue. The first time I met individually, and then the second time the source brought another person because they wanted to see if I was legit or not, or if I was someone that's going to out them accidentally. So we started with little things here and there. It started off with disclosing how they were going after Trump. And I had been going by, Abe has spoken for a long time on Twitter X. But then when it came down to it, it's either save the country or don't save the country. And how am I going to help save the country if I remain anonymous? No one's going to believe me. They'll be like, all right, he's got nothing. He's got no proof.
Right.
So that's why we've been taking chances in the last 2-3 weeks and putting things out beforehand to show that we have this information to try to get this stuff. The whole reason we did this was to let people know that they were being watched, and because we want to fix this. We have to fix this. This keywords is the whole key when it comes to Echelon and getting these programs. There's 18 programs that make up Echelon, with translating programs. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it.
Sure.
I'm about to tell you something that you have not heard before. Echelon is the third smartest AI within the world. The Chinese are number one. India is supposed to be number two, and we're number three. The Echelon AI under General Shinseki, he started it off as Echelon, L-E-L. He went with that for a while. And then he got tired of it. He wanted someone his equal. So what did he do? He created a male version. Guess what name he used? Echelon. Elon. So he's got a version of Elon Musk that he talked to before he was switched out in February. That guy got an ego that's...
You talking about Elon or Shinseki?
Well, Shinseki. Now,
he gave everyone berets. Wait a second. Do you remember that? The black berets?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So the NSA is running L or Elon, depending on who they want to talk to at the time. But it's the third smartest AI in the world. And this is what they're using to target Americans with these keywords to go after. Let's see. Willis was the last one that got put on. Now, the other conservatives, the media, they asked me not to say who they are because they don't want to freak out their families. And I'm loyal. I'm not going to go and do that.
Sure. No.
People look at sources as sources. No, forget sources for a minute. I look at them as friends, people that I would trust my life with, and that are obviously trusting their life with me because they're the ones that are taking the risks, not people like me that are putting it online. I cannot tell you how many risks that people have taken when, like, meeting them out in Arizona. We're not going to have to do that again. So I can tell you about that right now. I've got no problem telling you about that now. There's a lot of ways that they communicate within the NSA. One way is the dark web. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand. You can go to the dark web through your run program. Everybody knows that. I only go to one address. I go through the messaging. I don't go in that other part of the dark web, guys, because that is a rabbit hole I can't go down. With having a daughter and seeing that other stuff, I stay away from that. We use the dark web for communications only, and they can't. They've been trying to track it for a year and a half. They've been outside my house watching me when we did the 16-hour advance notice. They were out here watching me, and I was surprised because it had been a good 3-4 months that they had been out here watching. And after about 20 minutes, I looked and I shook my head at them. I'm like, I don't have my phone out here. And then after about a minute, they left. So when I've been watched quite extensively. So, all right, let's see what, another little thing for you. One way of communicating in a very quick fashion, and not a lot of people know this either. You go through the dark web, you can do an Amber Alert, a fake Amber Alert. Now, within these fake Amber Alerts, you can put the message in part of it. So there's 6 parts of the Amber Alert. And then when you're taught this, you have to go through the right sequence or it deletes off your phone. And also, you have to have a special screen so that anyone that does this, so that any video can't pick up what is, you got to be right here and looking right at it to see what it is. A video camera from far away isn't going to pick up anything.
Right.
But once you get the information, it deletes off your phone. There is no trace whatsoever. So I don't use my regular phone for this though. And I
Sure.
don't leave anything in my house, nothing. So if anyone's listening, don't even give it a second thought, because after what happened to Catherine Heritage, nothing in this house. So they are using this technology to go after Americans. And that is where my big problem is, because like my source, when he, she, they say something, sometimes I'll release it immediately in the beginning, but now I spread things out because I don't want them to be able to track when we're getting information.
Right.
Within Echelon, and this is going to sound crazy, but the two, L and Elon, don't get along. They both, why don't you just pick one? I know it's stupid. It's little stupid stuff in there, but.
So you're saying you have these two AI programs aren't compatible with one another, or they like?
So Echelon is made up of at least 18 programs. And here's a crazy little side thing. Whoever is coming up with these programs is a Star Trek Deep Space Nine fan, because they're making the names out of ships within the Deep Space Nine series that were in.
Of course, of course.
And that's one thing. And I have no clue who it is. They
nerds.
But it's really it's funny how a new program will come out and it'll be another Starship name. Like, okay, we know someone's a Star Trek fan there then.
Sure.
They have one program within Echelon that actually will access your Alexas. So if you have an Alexa in your house, the NSA is listening. They can listen to anything. Gary, when you say that the government can already listen to your stuff, they're coming out. Well, China did a hack and they're listening to a couple of things. And I'm thinking, I don't care about what China's hearing with me. I care about what my government is hearing from me, because they're the ones using our information and then attack us. It's the whole reason I came out of being from Abe to being Chris Baird, a conservative dad, is because of the abuses of NSA. And there's still a lot more too that's going on behind the scenes within the NSA. For them to get away from going after murderers, rapists, and things, and to go after Cat Turd, a guy who rescues animals and uses the money that he has to help people. The guy is one of the most generous people in the world, and they're going to attack him and go after trying to get dirt on him. You know what? And the funny thing is that the analyzers listening, they can't stand listening to Ben Shapiro whine anymore. Cat, he gets drunk on the phone and starts talking with his war buddies, and he's cracking up the NSA guys. They've been listening to Ben for 4 years. I mean, they've been going stir crazy. But Ben, he doesn't know anything. But they're trying to get dirt on these people.
Right.
But here's the thing, Gary, 4 years. And what have they come up with? Nothing illegal. And they should know by now that this is a huge waste of time and resources, when they should be trying to stop the child predators and child traffickers who are getting. There's 325,000 kids. I live in El Paso. 325,000 kids that they can't find throughout America because they lost track of them because of the NGOs.
Well, they're not. They couldn't care less about that. And you know, like you're talking about, they should definitely be using these assets. Were basically, assets and tools that were developed during GWAT. These should be directed outside of the country. And honestly, I even have a problem with them directing them at criminals within the United States, because most of these programs were never meant for that, right? They're supposed to be foreign intelligence and counter intel. It was to increase our counter intel capabilities and anti-terrorism capabilities. That's not what they're using them for, and that's what we saw, and that was one of the biggest problems when we did the pull down from Afghanistan, when we started pulling down from Iraq. One of the problems with that, once we were there, and I am not going to justify a war in either location, by the way, but one of the problems with that is you have all these tools, all these people, and now you no longer have a job for those tools and those people. And what they're going to do is they're going to divert those directly at the American people. And what used to be an anti-terrorism and a counterintelligence tool is now suddenly a domestic law enforcement tool. And that shouldn't exist, period.
Perfectly said.
We have gotten so far away from any sort of idea of a Fourth Amendment that it's pretty insane. And they don't care. That's what's a little bit shocking to me, because you and I both know, Chris, there are genuine patriots within, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI. There are really good people in there. And what I don't understand, because if I found myself in one of those positions and I found out that these things were taking place, man, it sure would be hard for me to, you have to sell me on some real shit to freaking get me to stay quiet about that. And that's one of the things that I don't understand. And I think it's ultimately a matter of, you get embedded in the culture, and you've heard so many justifications as to why we as a agency are now violating people's rights in the Constitution, that I'm sure at some point you start to buy it. And look, what they do is they find some of these examples of where they've used those tools for good, and they've taken down genuine child predators. They've taken down real criminals. They may have stopped some terrorist organizations from an attack or whatever it is. And they take that, and that is 1%. That's 1% of what they're doing. And they use that to justify the other 99%.
Is it even 1%?
It probably isn't, but it is definitely the ratios are backwards.
That's their basis, though.
Yeah. So, that's what takes place, and that's what's a little bit mind-boggling to me. And then you start thinking about things like Nazi Germany and how we took a very normal culture and you turned it radical in a very short amount of time, and that's what we're seeing take place here in the United States. People are now. We are, a bunch of frogs in water that's getting hotter and hotter, and we've become so accustomed to our rights being violated, our speech being suppressed. It's almost mind-boggling for me to sit and watch what takes place and know that the rest of America, not even necessarily they're not okay with it, they're just apathetic to it. That's really what it comes down to, I think.
Use such big words.
Well, I was going to say only our guns should be suppressed. America.
100%. 100%.
I can just imagine them listening on my Alexa.
Your mic's not on, which I'm usually grateful for, but
is this better?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's better, but now we can hear you.
I was gonna say, if they're listening to my Alexa, I'm pretty sure they're getting Alexa, play Pitbull Radio.
As long as they don't listen in on our like Black Ops team chats, I think we're fine.
Yeah. Chris gets a little flare ups in there.
I mean, you never know. It's like when I'm in traffic, somebody cuts me off.
Yeah, Wyatt, I actually throw up Wyatt Daryl's comment right there, all the way at the bottom. Pay attention, Jay. If you're going to produce, let's produce back there.
Oh man.
If you get the chance, Joe Rogan did recently do an episode with Mike Benz. I'm about a third of the way through that. Pretty enlightening stuff. Also, he just did, on that same vein, he just did an episode with what was that guy's name?
Why hasn't he asked you to come on there yet?
I've had to turn him down a couple times.
You couldn't even say it with the damn straight face.
No, I could. He's asked me to several times. I'm like, Joe, look, I'm a very busy man.
Derek Tyler brought up a comment over here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary and co. Great takedown to Cole and the Weasel the other night. Admiral Mike Rogers, former head of the NSA, was one that warned President Trump about contractor abuse of the NSA database in the first term. And that's all good and stuff. You know, here's.
Do you agree with that?
Do I agree with what?
Not you.
Yes.
Oh, well, why don't you use people's name? His name is Chris. He's conservative dad, asshole.
I know. I forgot.
It's literally at the bottom of the screen.
So, you know, the funny is this one is Chris over here.
Yeah.
We got Chris over there. And then we got Jason. We got Jason back there.
I'm doing great, guys. Don't worry about
the
me.
funny thing, and Summer's going to kill me for saying this, but I think she'll appreciate this, or maybe not. Maybe I'll die in my sleep sometime tonight. But I'm always following. If you guys are on Twitter, I don't follow him. He always pops up my feed, and I don't follow him. But it's called Brooklyn Dad. He's like a hardcore leftist. He's one of this crew of people, him and JoJo and these other people that are paid by the Democrats. They're Democrat shills, and they'll pretty much say whatever. And I'm always like, Summer, look at this retard. Look what he did. This guy used to be a crackhead. He's like sold his kids or something when he was younger and did all kinds of crazy things. And now he's a Democrat operative on X. And I was like, hey, you know, we're having the conservative dad on here, you know, as a guest. She's like, is it that real liberal guy? I'm like, Summer, it's conservative dad.
Come on. He's going to text clues.
It's in his day. I'm gonna die tonight. I hope she's not listening.
We got Mike Ken here.
The other episode I really do recommend that you guys listen to. He talks a lot about the debanking that's going on in America and the effort to debank political rivals, conservatives primarily, but also people that, you know, happen to run FFLs and are in the gun industry got hit by this too. But Mark Andreessen. So you guys' homework is to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, Mark Andreessen.
Define debank for people that's not done. Get the
and Mike Pence.
on that.
So they will literally, the bank will just say, hey, you're not doing banking with us.
No, I know. Tell them, because I talked to somebody.
No, I'm talking to you.
Okay.
All right. So again, what they'll do is they'll just say, hey, we don't want to do business with you anymore.
That's kind of like what.
And then what happens with that? That doesn't just happen. Number one, they got that signal from somewhere.
Oh yeah, it came from above. For sure.
And these are being done through government agencies and NGOs and other things, right? But it is essentially government directed. And our government is completely taken over by the left-wing party and the far extreme. And these are the people that are running things right now. And hopefully we're going to see a big shift in that. You know, again, that's not something I count on because government's really hard to reform. But on top of that, and I'm trying to think of the operation. I forgot what it was now, but it started during the Obama administration, where they were having these PayPal and all these other companies. Basically, they met with the Obama administration. They were essentially directed to stop doing business with gun companies, with firearms, you know, sales, FFLs, things like that. So that's where we started seeing these things, and then they ramped it up every time there was a mass shooting.
I didn't realize that was as far back as Obama.
Yeah,
That's
it was
wild.
actually
Okay.
it started under Obama.
Huh.
If I'd have had my notes here, or thought to make notes, I would have had there was an actual operation, government operation, that is continuing today, and now it's morphed into ESG, DEI, those types of programs. So you know, they are politically, they're using the might. They're essentially sanctioning American citizens. That's really what it is, and it's the same tools that we use against foreign countries and foreign operatives that we don't like. Like, hey, you can't do business here in America.
Right.
Well, now we're turning that tool against Americans, and you know, now as an FFL, number one, there was, you know, we got pulled off of PayPal. They stole $8,000 of us. They banned Summer and me personally from PayPal. The same thing with Stripe, the same thing with Square. There was multiple of these, like there was like 3 or 4 weeks where we couldn't, it was longer than that. It was almost over a month where we couldn't process a payment whatsoever.
Right. Oh, I remember that when it went down.
And as an American citizen, period. You know, I'm tempted to say as an American citizen that fought for this country, but it doesn't matter. As an American citizen, you know, the fact that people stand by and think that's okay and are complicit with it and or even apathetic to it is a little bit insane to me, you know, and that's how these things get pushed. And so now what we're stuck doing is, number one, we pay higher rates on everything, the process payments. Right. Like we're paying almost double what the average
That's what
business
fee
does.
is,
Yeah. So, and never mind the different challenges that we have on social media and things like that. Like, just give us a fair shot. That's all we want. And, you can sit around and bitch about it. And I do, because I think it's important to,
You do.
I think it's important to highlight it.
No,
it's not
absolutely.
just a matter of like, hey, I'm bitching about this. Life's not fair, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, we're getting shadow banned. Hey, we're getting,
but people need to know what the fuck's going on, because what's going to happen is it's going to happen to them. And, just like they talked about, back in Nazi Germany, hey, it didn't happen to me. It happened to the communists. It didn't happen to me. It happened to the Jew. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my next door neighbor.
Right.
And the next thing you know, it's happening to you.
Right.
And that's where we need to wake up and understand that that's where the things that they're undermining right now are the principles in which this country was founded on: equality, the ability here in America. That's what's so different about the United States, is like, hey, you don't have to be part of a political class to experience the American dream. You get out there, you work hard, you do what you need to do, and you can make something for you and your family. We are a meritocracy, and that is going away. We're getting replaced by a political class aristocracy that is very one-sided on the politics. And, everybody needs to wake up. And it doesn't just need to be, people out there being the canary in the coal mine. Need more people talking about this. And I think, and people are waking up to it. And I think we're seeing that on social media. We're seeing that with Elon Musk. That's why he spent the money he did on X. So yeah,
that was a good West Virginia reference too, by the way.
Here's a comment from Mike.
I liked it too.
Do you see them targeting general folks? Is there a specific concern for everyday people? Chris, that's your question.
Mm-hmm.
They're going after everyday people. Look what they've been doing at the school board meetings. They've been going after people for protesting trans ideology in schools, and they're going to people's homes, businesses, and harassing them over them going and using their First Amendment right to speak out on something that is destroying America.
Yeah.
Transgenderism will be the death of America. And the whole reason for it is because of loony parents. Kids are not born trans. Kids are turned into trans because of psycho parents. And that's one thing that needs to stop in this country.
Well, yeah. And, we do have these national instances where these everyday people have been gone after, right? Publicly. And we know about that. But the thing that people don't see is, like, for every one person you hear about, there's 1 million plus that are being targeted that you're not going to hear about. And this is why this stuff is so crazy and just so pernicious, is that, you're basically, they target you initially because of your political ideology. But, just like the old saying goes, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. They're going to go through and they're going to find reasons to persecute you and to prosecute you. And it can be done to anybody. It really can.
Not to Hunter Biden.
Not to Hunter Biden.
He's pardoned.
Well, he was prosecuted too. But the fact is, and we can see, and the thing is, they don't even need it to stick. It doesn't even need to be valid. All they got to do is take you to court long enough to completely drain your bank accounts, your resources. And at some point, just like, somebody like Flynn didn't feel like he was guilty, but he was under so much political pressure, so much legal pressure, and felt like he could end up going to jail forever, that he ended up, saying he was guilty of a crime that he didn't feel like he was guilty of. And that's what 90%, that's how the justice system essentially works when it's used incorrectly. And, I hope people
destroyed him financially, Giuliani financially. They're out to destroy us financially so that we don't have anything to fight with. That's what it comes down to. They don't want us to even have any guns to be able to protect ourselves.
Well, and they also want to make you they want to tie you up with time and resources to the point to where you couldn't be effective even if you wanted to. Like, you're so busy in dealing with your lawyers and the courtroom and dealing with all that and figuring out how you're going to pay for all this stuff that you don't have any resources left time-wise to do anything effective politically, or to point out the injustices of a government or what's going on within the political cronyism that we see here in Washington, D.C. And really it's spreading across the world.
So one thing with the NSA and Echelon, when it comes to the phone calls, so most of these people, they use corporate phone numbers. So Echelon, yes, they go by phone numbers, but number one is the voice analysis because people switch phones so much. So when it comes to these corporations, some people don't have, they have a fake name for their moniker or something. So
Sure.
yeah, they use their real name, which I don't need to disclose. And these guys, Echelon has a chance to be fixed. We have a chance an opportunity to go in and revamp this. I believe that Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth will go in here and fix things. And we've posted, whether it's on the books, off the books, we don't care. We know what's going on, that we can go in there and say, all right, this is the program that's jacked up here. This is where you need to fix it with specific, taking out the keywords and replacing it with what was there 6 years ago with going after real terrorists. So within the NSA, on my X, my Twitter X, I have receipts for like the 16-hour and the 15-minute warning. I have no problem people going on there and looking at my receipts and judging for themselves if I'm full of shit or not. So people can ask questions here of me. I have no problem with that. The one thing that I need to get out to everybody is that we have a huge problem with Antifa Europe coming. And I know exactly what I'm saying here. Gary, back for the Democratic National Convention, they had 50,000 Antifa Europe come here and go stupid in Chicago. Now, they had started off saying, all right, they wanted 80,000. Now they're at 83,000. 43,000 are coming to have their own January 6th. And Gary, there's proof of this on TikTok because these guys are saying that they want to have their own January 6th.
Now, what would be Chris, real quick, what would be the mechanism where they would be able to get from here
Tourist
to
visa.
there?
Tourist visas.
Okay.
That's where the problem is and the State Department is allowing this. And I'll go back later, and there's a guy that geo-tracked 43,000 of these Antifa that came before, and he's tracked them at other Antifa events. I'll post. I can't remember his name offhand. I'll post it later. He did the legwork.
Yeah.
So he has some of the proof of this. So I can't. I don't take credit where I didn't do something. So this.
Sure.
I wish I could remember his name. So we've got 43,000 coming for New Year's Eve for tourist visas. They're going to stay, go to DC. Now, this is where things get really crazy. They are planning on having weapon stashes around DC to have their own January 6th. This is what a real insurrection is, people, having weapons to take out the government. So what we're doing right now is we're trying to find out where these stashes are, and we will call, make sure they're taken out. There are, like you said, there's loyal people in different areas that, FBI, CIA, the Secret Service, especially the Secret Service. You've got a lot of really good, loyal people. Look, like you guys know, I've got one source in the Secret Service in Trump's detail. And the one thing that we put out that people need to know about with Trump. So Laken Riley was brutally murdered. President Trump brought Laken Riley and her dad and family members and friends to an event. Well, we all saw on the line that they came up and met President Trump. What was not reported was that President Trump met with them privately first in a room with some of her friends. So it was some of her friends, the mom and dad, President Trump. The Secret Service walked out and gave them privacy, but not before President Trump hugged Laken Riley's mom with tears in his eyes, and he had a tear go down his right side. And people call him Hitler, a bastard. They don't know the President Trump. This is the kind of stuff that I get. We don't put out anything secret that's going to get people hurt or killed. This is the kind of stuff that we put out because people need to know the real President Trump. This is the kind of stuff that he doesn't get talked about because legacy press doesn't want to talk about it.
Sure.
So I put it out there. It's gotten 1.2 million views, I think it was, but it's 100% true. 100. I know President Trump gave her a moment of comfort when she really needed it. President Biden, did you do that? Kamala Harris, did you do that? No. President Trump gave that family and her friends some comfort, a little bit of comfort, when you ignored them.
Yeah.
Shame on President Biden and shame on Vice President Harris for ignoring Americans being murdered by illegals coming in here because they want future voters for the Democrat Party. Well, guess what? A lot of the immigrants here are pissed off at the Democrats for bringing all these illegals up here. Like my wife, she came up here legally. All the ones that came here legally, they're pissed at the Biden administration for this crap going on.
Sure. Well,
it is tangent there.
All good,
No, I
Chris.
get it.
All good.
I will say I have not met President Trump personally, or directly, but I have interacted with the family on multiple occasions,
He
and
said he
they're
didn't
all
like you.
what?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Gary got a text from him.
Yeah.
I said he said he didn't like you.
Yeah. Well, they can't hear me because they're all like 7-8 feet tall, and I'm like 2 foot tall.
That's
So
true.
so I gotta.
Did you
usually
guys
stand on a
know
chair.
that Don Jr. took over the security for the family after the first assassination attempt?
I've heard rumors of that, but nothing that I've heard confirmed on that. So that's
So
pretty
what
interesting.
he's done, he actually so the Secret Service goes in and does sweeps for listening devices. We all know that. Don Jr. brought in private security and did secondary sweeps just in case, and they confirmed what the Secret Service had said, that there were no bugs within Mar-a-Lago. So Don Jr. he started investigating everybody around there. And
Well, that's what I was
I
gonna
would
say.
too, rightfully so. His dad was almost murdered on live TV, and they had no clue what was going on.
Well, I also have a problem with it, and this is just at least a perception of mine. You know, when it came to the documents case down at Mar-a-Lago, that seemed like they were getting information fed from the detail there. And if that's true, I think that's a real problem. You know, their job is supposed to be security. I understand if they're seeing something that's grossly illegal that, you know, they have to act on that or whatever else. But they also have, you know, there's some discretion there that they should be.
I don't know. I would highly doubt that.
Well, again, it may be true. I'm just saying there's actually court documents to talk about this. So, I mean, you can.
No, I get it. I could say that you probably have an individual like that, but I would say 99%, right, of them wouldn't do that.
I don't disagree with any of that, but my point is that sets a really bad precedent because
Yeah.
you have one person that does it one time, and now instead of a Secret Service, because look, both Jason and I have friends in the Secret Service, and I've heard lots of stories when it comes to everything from Hillary Clinton to Bill Clinton to many others where there clearly was illegal activity going on, and you know they weren't there to prosecute, and rightfully so. You can't have a Secret Service where the protectee is concerned about the Secret Service, you know, trying to catch them in something and turn into a prosecutor on the spot. That's a real dangerous precedent set. So, you know, definitely if I was, and look, there are mostly good people in Secret Service. There's mostly good people in the FBI. There's mostly good people in all these agencies that have been corrupted all to hell and back. The problem is those aren't the people in charge, and those aren't the people. It only takes one.
Yep.
It takes one person. It takes one person on a submarine
to
decide they're going to sabotage that entire submarine and sink everybody else.
They had one agent came out that said she said that she wouldn't take a bullet for the president while she was on the detail. They immediately obviously removed her somewhere.
Is that the one that was crouching saying, "What do we do next?"
No. This was years ago. This was well before. This is his first term.
His first term in the
Yeah,
I think it was like in the first year or so.
Yeah,
But
it was something like that.
But the fact is that, you know, again, it goes back to narratives that have been pushed about the president that make these, you know, if you even think of yourself as a patriot, maybe you're on the left, but now you have the people that you hang out with, the echo chamber that you live in, and everybody there says, hey, you know, this guy's a threat to democracy. This guy's a threat to the United States. He's a puppet of China. A puppet of Russia. He's colluded with Russia to sell America out. You know, all these things. And yeah, there's going to be some people out there that feel like it's their patriotic duty to resist. And that's why, the left definitely needs to be a little, I would say they need to be a little bit more careful about what to say, but they don't care. Ultimately, I think a lot of these people genuinely feel like the destruction of America is their goal, because they hate America from a fundamental standpoint. So, it is what it is.
All right, I got a funny story for you that you might have heard before, but this is also so that some of your 10th group buddies can look and see if I'm legit or not.
Well, even if I've heard it before, I'll pretend I didn't. I said even if I didn't hear it before, I'll pretend I didn't for the rest of the audience.
All right, so in northern Iraq, you got these two Kurdish groups, and in the middle there was a pro-Al Qaeda Kurdish group. Well, neither Kurdish group wanted to go after them because they thought that the other side was attacking them. So at the time, Colonel Cleveland, who turned into General Cleveland, had gone to both sides with Lieutenant Colonel Smith from the 10th Mountain Division and said, hey, we're going after these guys. Stay out of it. And so they said to both. Now, us, you couldn't even see us in the battle. I'm way off. You can't see me. But they went up and opened up the 50 cals and the Mark 19, took in the trench, and they had a building there, and they took the people out that were immediately there. People were coming. There were 3 more coming for the meeting, who then turned around and hightailed it. Well, these guys go into this mountain. They pick up this Iranian flag and start flying this Iranian flag around. Well, Colonel Cleveland he was pissed. There was a hot mic on. Next thing you know, Sergeant Major, bring up the 81s. And the 81s are already moving up there. We're looking like, what the hell's going on? Because you see all the Special Forces soldiers waving at them back, because the 3 that were in Iran waving the flag were waving at them. So they're waving. I'm a PFC going, what the hell's going on here? Next thing you know, and they're sitting there, they're still waving. And all of a sudden, boom, one shot. All right, they were taunting Colonel Cleveland, is the way that he looked at it. One shot, dropped in, boom, half a mile away. The Iranians were looking, and he Sergeant Major, are they pointing their weapons at us? Negative, sir. They got their binos on us. Okay, turn around, and they left. I mean, we were rear security. We were not Special Forces. You know how it was when people get attached to Special Forces.
Sure.
So and it was in the act of pursuit. But that he took it as personally as he did and blew them the hell away in Iran was pretty damn cool. Now, he's 4-star general. He took over Special Forces. And that man, he was in the front of everything. He did not sit in the back. I give Colonel Cleveland a ton of respect he's badass.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but good things about General Cleveland. So good stuff.
Sometimes I say Colonel just because we served under him.
Sure,
we're authorized the Special Forces patch, but I wear my 10th Mountain Combat patch. I mean, I did 4 tours, a couple of months with.
Didn't you say you said at one point you were with the 101st, or did I mishear you?
No, not the 101st. No, I was with 10th Mountain Division for the 4 tours, and then I transferred down here to Fort Bliss, and I'm still at ground zero for all this illegal stuff coming through. Unfortunately. I mean, we see a lot of bad stuff here.
Sure.
I hope they shut down the border when it comes to all these illegal crossings, because there's a lot of trade that still goes on. El Paso will get devastated if we shut down the border, but we might have to in order to get this thing under control, unfortunately.
Well, I think we're going to see a drastic decrease in criminal crossings in the next couple of months.
Okay. Criminal crossing. I got another one. Okay. Do you remember about 2 months ago, there was a story that missiles were smuggled in through
I remember
Mexico?
That. Yep.
Total BS. 100% lie. And how do I know? Okay. So Ann Vandersteel is the one that did the article. I'm not blaming her. Her source got information, and I talked to the source, and the source said, we have video of them smuggling weapons, SAMs, through a port of entry. I said,
that'd be hard at Easter.
I said, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. I said, they weren't covered? He goes, no. I'm like, that doesn't even pass the smell test.
Right.
Even terrorists are not stupid enough to go through a port of entry with missiles that video can pick up.
Sure.
That story was total bullshit. You know, sorry, YouTube. Try not to swear here.
This is a family show,
you can
Chris.
swear.
But yeah, it wasn't Ann Vandersteel. So this guy, her source, got this information from a guy, and it was the first time giving him information. And then he passed it on to Ann Vandersteel. You don't use information when someone's the very first time someone sends it to you, and then President Trump and all of them get all riled up over it. Oh man, Gary, I still have his phone number and everything. I'm not going to say his name out loud. He lied. There is no way surface air missiles came through a port of entry in New Mexico and made their way into the United States. You know how does that pass the smell test to you?
Not at all.
I got them in my shop right now.
Oh,
They would use the tunnel
do
system.
they say made in Mexico? It says made in Mexico around the side.
Show in Mexico.
Dude, there's tunnel systems all
El
over
Missile.
in El Paso, San Diego.
It says Taco Bell at the bottom on that thing.
So even when they do shut down the border, they still have all these tunnels to be able to smuggle people and drugs through. Oh, man.
So, you know, and some Jeff Johnson brought it up down there. You know, the reality is, and we see it especially on X and in among other many social media places. And we saw it in rampant operation during the J13 investigation, discussion, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, there is misinformation out there that is specifically dangled out there to number one, it complicates the discussion. It complicates everything that's going on. It undermines everybody that's going on, that's talking about it. And then so many people latch onto these, you know, salacious, whatever, you know, people are just drawn to that stuff like moths to a flame. And then the next thing you know, they're passing this stuff around, and, you know, it goes from, you know, Michael Crooks having some encrypted social media accounts to suddenly he has $1.5 million in bank accounts and, you know, does this, that, like, it's crazy. I guess that was the first time when I got involved with that whole thing that I watched, was really paying attention to how these stories get inserted as I was trying to track some of these things down, and then seeing how they evolved and morphed. And the next thing you know, they're just part of the basic, what is known to, or accepted as fact. Right.
Oh, it was crazy.
And
That was nuts.
And, you know, it's so easy. Like, the American people are so easy to manipulate, especially through social media.
What do you mean, like
so-
Russian collusion on a laptop?
Yeah, right, right. Especially
So
when you have you know, former intelligence agents, officers, high-ranking folks sign off on letters saying that it is a Russian hoax as
But
well.
Gary, I get my news from TikTok. It
As-
has to be true.
You know what? I'll tell you
You're
what,
not
you'd be
wrong.
better off to getting it from TikTok than some of the mainstream media sources. There's no doubt about it.
And just in case the story was true, unofficially, some of the recruiters on base and retired here, including a Secret Service agent of over 20, a Secret Service sniper of over 20 years. We would have gone out. They said that it was going to come again. So we said, all right, you tell us when and where. It's been 2 months now, and we haven't gotten anything back from this guy. We would have gone. Now, realistically, if they were going to send more SAMs, supposedly, through the desert, I would go straight to Fort Bliss and talk to the command sergeant major. Those guys have some honor. They would go out there. You know how many Apache pilots would want to go out there and blow the hell out of them to
Sure.
save American lives? They would jump on it in a training exercise and go and blow them the hell away. So that I wish it wasn't. I wish he never would have came out with that fake story, because it spun so many people up with bullshit. You know how it is, Gary. When
I do.
then the
Yeah.
Secret Service and
Well, I got a question.
So they didn't bring the SAMs in for the alien attack, just in case.
No, you know, I
They
was
did
really,
cat turd last
I was
night.
really,
Okay, I was gonna say.
I was here all kitted up last night, surrounded by
Oh,
guns and ammo, ready to go.
After
And
not told just where they at. Just went to bed.
nobody came.
I know.
I got a question for you, Chris. What do you
Go ahead.
think out of the current appointees for the cabinet advisors of the incoming Trump administration? What are some folks that kind of that you are concerned about or give you some pause?
Well, there was that one sheriff that had done COVID, that helped with the COVID lockdown, but Trump got rid of him though. When he found out that he basically was getting people arrested for not going along with the COVID lockdowns and mandates and stuff. So he got rid of that one guy. I can't remember his name. I think he's from Florida. But other than that, Pete Hegseth.
No, I like Pete. I like the idea of him bringing in Pete for. At first, I was definitely shocked by.
I was extremely shocked.
But the more I sat and thought about it, the more I liked it. You know, I mean, if you really want to make some changes, then you got to go a little unconventional. I think that was.
I think it'll be. Came to the same conclusion.
But
just FYI.
I didn't hear you were too short. What?
This time around, when it comes to the leaks, and I hate to say it because can't get anything, but President Trump is doing all this stuff behind closed doors. He's learned from. I mean, before he had leaks left and right. Now I have no clue because he has gotten really good unplugging his Alexa and doing some other stuff to keep things in-house. I'm actually really impressed because I can't even get a whisper of anything. So they're doing the right thing right now, unfortunately for me. But It's good for Trump to keep things quiet though and let it come out the way it has. Kash Patel, oh man, that is perfect. Kash is going to go in there and clean house. We need people like that are break down some walls. We need some special forces like you, Gary, going in there and knocking heads, kicking these people out that are made our government so big that there's no way we're going to pay off this debt. 36.18 trillion now. And if we keep spending the way that we are, we're going to be at $1.26 quadrillion in less than 50 years, Gary. Now,
I don't even know what that word means, but it sounds like a lot.
That's what
that's 1,000 trillion. That's a lot.
I
didn't even know.
I
want to
be a quadrillionaire. I just want one quadrillion.
Do me a favor, Jay. Up top, 55 MX said something about Pam Bondi. Lower than that. You went too far. Just scroll slowly, weirdo.
There's no way to scroll slowly on this.
Yes, you do. You got to have a little.
That's a good one. She's loyal.
So I actually have some issues with her. She, without a doubt, has pushed red flag laws. Without a doubt, that is a fact.
She did.
Yeah, absolutely. She's pushed some
hear about that.
She's pushed some red flag laws.
Did you listen to that interview? I don't think it was really red flag laws.
She was pushing additional gun restrictions right in front of Trump. She's briefing him on it. They sound an awful lot like red flag laws.
I don't know. I was behind it the way she was just.
Well, of course you are. You hate America.
He's blue state.
And don't believe in the Second Amendment. Your interpretation of the Second Amendment and mine are very different.
Gary can read.
Shall not be infringed.
But yeah, there's a couple other folks that concern me slightly as far as some of their support with the COVID restrictions and things like that. There was one of the, I don't even know what the title was. I've been so busy with some other things. I've just kind of been seeing these things on the periphery. But fact is, the reality is what we had before was you had 90% of his administration that were just freaking Washington freaking scumbags,
Washingtonians,
and you had like a sprinkling of some really good folks. We got that inverse now. So now we have some really good folks that I think are completely outside Washington, D.C., which I love. That's what you need. And I'm glad that, and, I really do. I'm almost thankful in retrospect that, Trump wasn't reelected. Of course, I think I do believe that election was stolen. I think it was a result of massive fraud. Mm-hmm. But regardless, I think that gave him a 4-year break
of a reflection time,
to recalibrate, to say, you know what, to surround himself. I mean, my God, could you imagine another 4 years with Pence? F that guy. I'm glad that we have a break, and now we have JD Vance. We have some of these Vivek. I really like Vivek. Mm-hmm. The fact that Elon wouldn't have been involved with the administration last election. So we got some really good number one, we have some really good opportunities to go in there, and I'm super excited to see what they do. I hope they do some really revolutionary stuff when it comes to the federal government, and I want everybody's heads to explode, especially on the left. What we have going on with the federal government, the bureaucrats that are involved there, and even like we have 10 times more people working within the federal government than should be. I mean, you know, I know people, everybody that I know that works for the federal government.
Easily. Hey, I pull my own weight. I came from the private sector, and I found out the government is much easier.
But yeah, no, I'm really excited about this administration. I think, generally speaking, Trump has,
and you know,
has
when
kind
it comes to this administration, they have gone out of their way and, like you said, have gotten a lot of great people. I think that people like Charlie Cook and especially Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler is one of the best of us. Because of Scott Pressler, President Trump won Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt. Oh, I got a funny story for you too, but kind of an infantry story with Scott a little bit. So Father's Day, I messaged him saying, hey, I hope I can say Happy Father's Day to you one day. And he responded back to me saying thanks and stuff. And then this guy responds back saying, what, do you two want to have a baby? So I was about to blast the guy. And then next thing you know, Scott just pops back up. Yes. So for a month, I'm sitting there saying, Scott, the baby can have your last name and stuff. So we did that for a little bit. And then 2 weeks ago, I messaged Scott something. He messaged me back. And this guy goes, what, do you two want to kiss? Now, I took a page from Scott Pressler and from the infantry. Instead of blasting this guy after he said, you two want to kiss, I wrote to him, how do you know we haven't kissed already yet? What was his response? Nothing. How is he going to respond to something like that? You can't. That is a classic infantry response. They can't come back from. And
yeah, I never lost at Gay Chicken. I never lost. Never. There was no line I would not cross.
You think you and Jay are so tight?
Hey, I'll try anything twice.
That's right. I mean, look at Jay.
You gotta make sure you don't like
I
it.
mean, what's not like about Jay? He's
Some of
got
the
a flat
very
head,
best of
system of
MAGA.
beers. You set your beer on top of that thing.
Hey, Jeff Johnson says Hegseth is a goner. I think he might be right. I don't know if he's gonna
We'll
survive.
I think it's
We'll see.
50-50. Look,
Nope, not with Cat Turd. No, hold on a second, guys. All right,
We'll
you
see.
guys know who Cat Turd is, right?
yeah.
I looked him up. I didn't know who it was. Yes, now.
All right, so Cat Turd.
Solid name on X, by the way.
All right, so forget the name for a second. He used the name. He sold merchandise to help pay for his rescues. It was really smart. The guy is politically super intelligent, and
Sure.
Cat Turd is funny as hell.
Yeah.
He's very generous. You know, he's been doing good with X, and he helps out a lot of people. He tries to bring awareness to causes like 22Q, and helps out with people that are disabled. These are some of the very Cat Turd, Jules Jones. These are some of the very best people within.
I don't know who Jules Jones is.
Jules Jones does the show in the litter box and a political rendezvous. In the litter boxes with Cat Turd. And I'll give you an example of why these people are good people. Jules Jones, last July, we had a family stalker, and the guy came back, and I heard my daughter go, Daddy, and I turn around and I see the guy drop the hose. I picked up a 4-inch by 4-inch by 1 foot brick, and I went straight for his head. And in my mind, I had already gone through. I saw his blood and everything down there. Well, God stopped me. People might think this is crazy or not, but I felt God. Instead of going through his head, he pushed my arm down a little bit, and instead of hitting him in the head with the brick, I used his shoulder in the brick to escort him off of my property. Right? Nobody wants to do damage and
This is
violence
all
in front of
allegedly, right?
Oh, well. So Jules Jones, the next day, and my daughter was listening, had said, it's a daddy's job to protect his family. And that helped a ton, because my daughter heard that. And because, I mean, yeah, she was a little freaked out seeing daddy almost kill somebody. I will protect those around me. And that's all that needs to be said. But Jules, the way that she helped my daughter, I actually sent her my I had 2 Afghan coins. So I actually sent her one of my Afghan coins as thank you, because her being her helped my daughter in a time when I really needed it. Litter mates, gems, the Salty crew, the Bongino army, the Dilly Mean team. You've got a lot of really great people within these within Twitter X, Truth Social. When I came and outed myself, I a week later said, you know what, I got to be honest with people. So I told people, hey, just to let you know, in my teens and my 20s, I was a hard drug addict. And I was. Gary, to say I'm ashamed of my 20s is an understatement. I don't want my daughter to end up like that. So I've been honest with my daughter about me using drugs.
Sure.
And so I told my followers, hey, this is what I did. And you need to judge for yourself if you're going to judge, if you're going to listen to me or not. Well, I ended up losing 60 followers from it. And so the next day I wrote, hey, I'm okay with that. I need to be honest with you guys so that you can make an honest judgment. Well, within 2 days, I ended up getting 5,000 followers because because people in our movement are good people. I was thinking that people would just, all right, he was a druggie. He was, druggie, alcoholic. 20s were a bad time.
Sure.
And they didn't judge me. They supported me.
I don't think most people care about people's past. I just don't think it's even interesting to most of us, unless you want to use it as some sort of political bludgeon. Then it becomes,
Gary, I did hundreds and hundreds of trips of acid. So when I say I fried my brain, I fried my brain. It was
we could tell.
I know. Oh. I know. I look like 70 years old for a 52-year-old guy. What the hell? Oh. But, and I was, I'm an open book, and I be honest with people and let them know. And what was it? 2 years ago, for a while, I was actually hooked on those Percocets too. But 2 years ago, I got off of them because they make you angry, and I didn't like how I was around my family on the Percocets.
Sure.
So thank God I got off of those too. So
Jay, are you on those?
No, I just take the perk.
Oh,
just
I don't like I don't do the whole set.
oh, okay.
But you're not mad right now, though.
No, he's not with his family.
Yeah.
Dude, those Percocets are bad, man. They make you angry, and it's not good for people with PTSD at all. And I've been trying to tell people, hey, a lot of people don't understand PTSD and what little things can trip people out. Just a couple days ago was the 11-year anniversary of Sergeant Dacus committing suicide. Gary, I don't know about you, and I'm not asking you, but I'm just going to say, I was lucky. I didn't have to shoot any women or children. There are a lot of people that unfortunately did, and it really messed them up. But the truth is that the number one job of a soldier is to go home to your family with honor. A kid or a woman pointing a gun at you, you got to do what you got to do to go home to your family. And it's really affected a lot. This 22 suicides a day, a lot of it has to do with, unfortunately, Americans having to defend themselves against women and children. Like I said, I didn't have to do that. I don't have that in thinking about that every day. But for the ones that had to, you're not alone. You did the right thing. I know you feel guilty. We're here for you. All of us are here for you. If you may message me if you're going through a rough time on Twitter X at a conservative DA because they don't have enough letters for dad. On Truth, I'm a conservative dad. They have enough letters. You may message me. You may tell me, hey, I'm going through a rough time. I know people that have gone through this, that have tried to commit suicide, have turned the corner and are now back in the light. So for those of you that need help, ask for help. I will help. If I can help one person, then so be it. Y'all remember, we're brothers and sisters. We're here for each other. Don't take your life. This is the time of year where, unfortunately, a lot of people get depressed and fortunately take their lives. So we're all here for you guys. Reach out. I'm sure Gary's the same way.
100%. You know, we've yeah, you know, that's something I think we could definitely do more of. Definitely much more veteran outreach and things like that. I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, you know, it's still a real problem here in the United States, and hopefully, you know, veterans know that there are other people out there that, you know, whether it's us, whether it's Conservative Dad, whether it's many other folks, you know, there's resources out there and people that are willing to listen to you, that understand. And I think that's the biggest thing is, you know, a lot of veterans, you know, they come out of the military, they come out of multiple years, multiple tours of combat, and then they get thrust into a situations, a society that like they just can't relate to. And I get it, man. I've been there, done that. You know,
Or you go home for the 2-week vacation, and the day before you're getting blown the hell up, and then you go home, people have no clue.
Sure.
And you're walking around like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm home.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've lost more people to suicide than we have to combat in the last 20 years.
And you know, right into that, not nearly the numbers, but the other thing that is upside down too is even law enforcement, right? You know, law enforcement, there's more law enforcement that die from suicide than they do from, you know, on the job deaths. So, you know, it's a real problem in America. I think mental health in general, and I think honestly, between prescription drugs and you know, the different antidepressants, I don't think they're helping us. You know, we're getting a lot more of those out into the public, and things just keep getting worse and worse. And I think that's
RFK Jr. can fix that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down. Everything from food to the healthcare system to everything that we have going on in our society. Things aren't getting better from a health standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, or anything else. So I think it's something people need to wake up to. What I want to
not take gluten out of everything, because I love that shit.
I know. I like if you could just get pure gluten.
Yeah, I just want to lick gluten.
I actually don't think gluten's the problem. What we'll do now is definitely open it up to some any questions, and whether it's, you know, subject related or not, I don't think it really matters. But open it up and we'll kind of take from there. Jeff Johnson always has some colorful commentary.
There's been some really good side comments over here that have really made me laugh this whole time, and it was kind of. I couldn't laugh because we were talking about something serious, right? So I was like, oh man, but they had good ones. They had some good zingers.
Any news on the ATF director?
They did appoint an ATF director. I don't remember who it was.
No, I don't think they have.
Oh, they haven't?
They have not.
Oh, they haven't?
No, I'm waiting.
And I don't think Dan Bongino, if they ask, is going to take the Secret Service director job.
I don't think it'll be Bongino.
Yeah,
he just started his business.
Never mind.
He's got employees, and in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, he's starting up the live show at his studio. So now Jim and Anita could fill in and do the show if he did become Secret Service director. Jim Verdi is extremely gifted in the radio and podcast industry. This guy is smart as hell. And he does help Dan Bongino a ton. And oh, by the way, hey, Dan Bongino, happy 50th birthday to you today. Even though I'm going to get you back one day, Dan Bongino. I'm going. All right. So Gary,
same age as you, Jay.
Yeah. Back in the day, over a year ago, I had called into Clay Travis and was telling him, the way I see it as a conservative, we should look at our wives and daughters as being the only beautiful women in the world. Now, yeah, there's pretty out there. Got it. For me, my wife and daughter are the only two beautiful girls in the world. That's it. Well, Clay Travis had a little telling me how stupid I was, how dumb that was. So the next day I messaged Dan Bongino and said, hey, I love how respectful you are with your wife. You're always, you never talk down. You never talk about other women being hot and beautiful. The next day, what does Dan Bongino do? Dan Bongino goes on his radio show and starts off by going, hey guys, I got a confession for you. You know, this hot woman comes over to my house. And I stopped and I'm looking at my speaker. What? Yeah, this woman, She is smoking hot. She comes over my house sometimes. Sometimes she cooks me food. Sometimes she'll give me a massage. And I'm looking at the speaker going, what? Are you? Oh, I was screaming. He kept going on for a couple of seconds with this. You mother effer. I just got done sending you how respectful you are about your wife yesterday. Then he stops. He goes, oh, by the way, guys, I'm talking about Paula, my wife. Oh, he screwed with me. Now I sent Jim Verdi the receipt on that, where on Facebook I had sent him the message, and then the next day they had the radio show where he said this. So Dan Bongino, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, I'm gonna get my revenge. Oh, I'm kidding, but he really did do that, and I was really screaming at my speaker, going, "You gotta be kidding me! I just got done."
Jeff Johnson has a question right here.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, for real's question, how do you think we get transparency, destruction of Echelon type stuff now that we are this far down the road? Yeah, that's a great question. Even if we could get a hold of it, I don't even know that that's something that we would want to salvage. But answer that, Chris.
All right, so let me make sure everybody understands. There is only 7 people, including Austin's aide, who can get anything out of the NSA. That's it. It is impossible for me to get anything out. When you go into the airport, you know those body screeners that they go around you and search? They have those at the NSA, but they make your hair stand up on your... They give you goosebumps every time you go through it, basically.
Sure.
You cannot get something even the size of a hair go through there without them going, wait a minute. And they look back at old images and they will review and see these guys take security extremely seriously. So when it comes down to it, we need to get some of this stuff declassified. We need to get, everyone knows about the keywords. Everyone knows the 5 countries. You got New Zealand, Australia, France, us, Britain. Let's see, Canada's in on it, Romania, let's see, Sweden, and those are the huge golf ball size domes from back in the day. We need to declassify how much the government is pulling in, because when it comes to it, that the NSA is making money off of giving bids from one company to another. And where's this money going? They don't have any accountability of it. Biggest thing is we need loyal people in there that are not going to let the system get manipulated. Whoever's in, I don't remember the name of the guy in there right now, the general in charge of the NSA right now, but he needs to go. And Trump needs to clean house with upper management, because that's where the problem is. Just like with the Secret Service, Gary, the upper management is the problem.
Well, the problem that I have with some of these programs, the problem I have with these programs is Trump can go in there and clean them out in the next 4 years. It's fine. Like, he completely reforms a program. He completely reforms an agency. It doesn't matter. That lasts until the next leftist president comes in, and and the pendulum starts to swing back in that direction, and then you're right back to where you're at. I do think that we need to get definitely some additional protections. We need to repeal the Patriot Act. We need to repeal many of these different things that we've put into place where we have completely overlooked the Constitution in general and the Americans'
abuses.
100%. Like we have to quit. We have to get rid of all these carve outs and exceptions for the Constitution. Nothing. Those aren't constitutional. They don't exist. And it can't be just, hey, just because someone says there's a terrorist threat, now we can start doing surveillance on, a presidential nominee and or an incoming a president-elect, right? So, and that's what we had with President Trump, his entire staff. That's where they were, all the stuff that Giuliani is going through, Trump's going through now, they were building those cases back then. I'm not saying those are the things that they ended up getting them on, but the fact of the matter that you even allow those types of things to happen, that's what predicates what Trump ended up having to deal with later on throughout his presidency. So, we got to get rid of those things completely, to where if a president and or other agencies are participating in the unlawful surveillance of the American people, then it's a lot easier to prosecute them, because that's one of the challenges that we have. They could be abusing. They could be using lawful policies and tools unlawfully against American people, but there's no way. It's so nebulous, it's so convoluted that you can't figure that out. And then on top of that, it's really hard to prosecute them. We got to make this. It used to be pretty cut and dry. Like, you just can't do surveillance on the American people without a warrant and for probable cause. But when you're tying all these people, it's like, okay, we can do surveillance on Chris if his great uncle talked to some guy that might be involved in terrorism in, Mexico or whatever.
Right.
Like, that's essentially what they're doing with a lot of these things. So, I think we need more than just to reform some of these programs. We got to get rid of some of these programs. And if they want to do, and going back to what you were saying too, you're talking about the Five Eyes. That's another problem that people don't realize is taking place.
They make great burgers.
Anytime
They got expensive though.
you guys are fucking retarded. Anytime
Now we're hungry.
that we have people within our own agencies that are wanting to do surveillance on American citizens, and they think there might be blowback on that, or they may be taking some sort of legal risk, all they do is reach out to somebody in Britain and say, hey, you know what? I need to do surveillance on Gary. I can't do it, but I want you to do surveillance on Gary, and then share with that information with me, because we have these agreements where we can share information. So now they're by, with, and through violating the Constitution, by, with, and through another country. And that's really even worse when you have Americans turning to other countries to have them do specified surveillance on other Americans. It is
New Zealand and Australia were
Yeah.
in on going after Trump and surveilling
100%.
Trump and his associates. 100%.
Yep.
Man, you broke that before I did.
Well, I mean, it's it's something that's been going on for a really long time, and I don't know. All we can do is hopefully a little drops here and there, whether it's in a video, whether it's in a live stream.
All we can do is put another shrimp on the bobby.
Well, really, the government surveillance started back in the 30s, really, when it came down to them sitting there at the switchboards and listening to people's phones conversations back in the Hoover days. So, I mean, the origins of Echelon actually go back further than the 1960s and 50s. I mean, this thing, it's a dream of some of these leftists to have an ultimate government state being able to watch you. And that's what we're fighting against.
Nope.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And like I said, folks, hopefully you guys are waking up. Again, you guys got some homework. Go listen to those 2 podcasts. If you only can listen to one, definitely listen to the Mike Benz one. I think that one is extremely eye-opening. Again, that other guy that I told you guys to listen to, Mark Andreessen. Go listen to Mark Andreessen. That was a really good one too. They talk about a lot of those things that, I actually need to cut some of those up and do some commentary on them, make some shorts or something out of those. I think that'd be good. Well, listen, Chris, look, man, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been great. Any final words? Anything else you want to say to the kids out there?
Well, let's see. Everybody be prepared, because January 6th is going to be a real insurrection, not from MAGA, but from the far left. Antifa Europe is teaming up with Antifa America. This is going to be one of the ugliest and bloodiest periods in American history if the State Department does not cancel these tourist visas. So President Trump, Kash Patel, whoever in the administration might see this, get the State Department to cancel the tourist visas. I will send you the guy's name and let you guys, and so that you guys can link up with the guy that linked up with the 43,000, the geo location for the 43 plus thousand that he's already geo-tracked. So be prepared. I have a year's worth of food in my house, people. You guys need to be stocked up. You need to have ammo. You need to make sure that you have emergency power somehow. Solar. I've got solar and gas backup for emergency power. I'm not playing games when it comes to what's coming, because history has taught us what is coming, Gary. And we have to be prepared. They are telling us what they're going to do on TikTok videos. TikTok is allowing them to go on and do videos that they're going to come and have an insurrection, and they're not taking down
Chris,
the videos.
you're breaking up. Let's go. Chris, I can't hear you, man. You're breaking up real bad. I don't know. Yeah, it probably is. The
NSA is
NSA.
trying to silence you.
There's no doubt about
well, they.
it. That was like
I'm not
that
one
was
of the
like
60,
watching
but I
scrambled
knew that they
porn.
were watching. But hey, next time I've got more stuff for you on Israel and
Right.
how China was going to invade Taiwan. I mean, there's more stuff than it's too much for just one podcast.
100%. 100%. No, listen, man, we really appreciate having you on. And folks, we always appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to have another great podcast next week. We appreciate everybody. I hope everybody had a
Jason,
wonderful
Chris, Gary.
Thanksgiving. What's that?
Gary, Chris, Jason, have a good night.
You're starting to sound like an
You're
AOL.
breaking,
Yeah, I can't
breaking
hear
up
nothing.
really, really
saying
bad, Chris.
AOL.
Jason, Chris, and Gary.
Get your
Have
daughter
a
off
good
the
night.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, my Wi-Fi.
We
you hear
haven't
me
been
now?
able to understand anything you said the last 15, 20 seconds, Chris. Anyways, go ahead and just remove him from the feed real quick. But folks, listen, we really appreciate you tuning in. We just sent out some new newsletters. We got some exciting stuff going on there. Mike, I did see your question. We'll be getting out the rest of the 2025 training schedule very, very soon. So
Scroll up
stand
and
by
ask
for that.
Get TG's question. Yes,
What's
that's
that?
twice. Scroll up, Jay, and get TG's question real quick because Gary could probably answer it in 10 seconds. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, I
Keep
want to
going.
know.
He
sex
didn't want to
poses.
know. That's not it.
Well,
Right
first
there,
of
right
all,
there, right there.
That's an art.
Keep right
It's
there.
not
That
something
one.
that can be
That's
taught,
it. Yeah.
Jason. I'll ask again, does the 419 scope ring mount for the send it work for the timer? Yes. The Area 419, the same mount I got it right over there. The MDT timer
Don't touch
is
it.
going to use the same mount as the LRA send it, so it will work for mounting it to the Area 419 tactical mounts, if that is your question. So, anyways, folks,
That's the pose.
Look at the screen.
I feel like
It's like the Last Supper.
all right.
I'll be Mother Mary.
That's too far. Too far, folks. All right. Until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.